Hello and welcome back to the stream, Saturday, March 15th. My name is Angela. I live in St. Paul, Minnesota. I am a front-end developer. Welcome back. Let's see here. What's going on? I was messing with my settings. And clearly, I have a problem. Let me see here. Desktop. There we go. Don't mess with your settings. Just don't do it. That fix it here too. There we go. Okay, good. Yeah, that fixed it. Okay. Welcome. Listen, it wouldn't be a stream if something didn't go wrong, but at this point, nothing ever really seems to go horribly wrong. So, it is what it is. Let's see if that is also working. Good. And there we go. Okay. So, continuing our work on the ocean, not my name, the name that was given to this mock-up by the developers designer whom I bought it from. Yeah, this is coming along really, really nicely. So we have our home page. We have some nice little animations. Just a really cute little blog. And then we also have, I'm very proud of this. This is our masonry layout. We finished this last weekend, and I could not be more thrilled with how this turned out. I have so many ideas for how I want to use this layout. I wouldn't say that I've spent, hours of my life trying to come up with a masonry layout, but I have spent some time here and there over the last, I don't know, decade or so, trying to do it in a way where I didn't have to use a library. And yeah, I kind of figured it out last weekend, so I'm really happy. I will say this masonry layout is not suitable if you are lazy loading or if you are doing like a load more, which is very common, especially when you're working with lots of API data. This is more suited to having a set number of items or pieces of content on the screen, which is very common in a blog. Say, for example, you have a blog page or an archive page or a category page where you're only going to show 20 or 30 items. This is very well suited to that, but the reason it's not suited to a more dynamic layout with lazy loading or load more is because the content is arranged in columns. So as you load the last item, it shifts the entire column. So if you're scrolling down and loading more, you're loading more, but you're not actually seeing the content that you're loading more of. So I hope that makes sense. It's because this layout works in columns, not in rows. Whereas Pinterest, clearly they're lazy loading. Let's see if we can, yeah, you can see it's loading. It's doing a lot of load more, and it's able to append the content in rows. So clearly they are loading content in a way that is not reliant on a column layout, but a row layout, but still achieving this masonry look and feel. Ooh, I have the pattern for this. Look at this. Yeah, I do. I have the pattern for this. That's wild. Okay. All right, Angela, stay focused. Yeah, Yeah. So what we did last weekend is not Pinterest. I mean, it's a masonry layout, but it's ours. This is a row-based layout. Ours is a column-based layout. A column-based layout isn't really going to work with lazy loading or load more content. It's suited to a fixed number pieces of content that doesn't roll, that is okay, that isn't timely. That's the only way I can think of to describe it. It's not timely because it's going to go from top to bottom. So it's still a great layout though. It's still totally solid. It's responsive. It looks beautiful when it does load because we put the CSS animations on it. Oh, it's gorgeous. Chef's kiss. It's gorgeous. I'm so happy. So, okay, so moving on. Today we definitely need to do some housekeeping, and here's why. Let's pull up our code. So for every HTML page that we have two sets of navigation, and that's because, let me arrange this. And that's because we have desktop navigation and then we have a separate set of mobile navigation. Normally, I don't do that. In fact, it's very rare that I maintain two sets of navigation on a website. But because the mobile navigation was this container with an image and all these extra things, I decided I was going to maintain two sets. And there are SEO friendly and accessibility friendly ways of doing that. I know not everybody agrees with that, but in my opinion, it is if you understand how to hide things appropriately, it is an acceptable way to do things. The problem though, especially when you have a static website, is that every time you create a page, you create two more sets of navigation that need to be maintained. Now, I've done videos in the past where I show how I'm a big fan of using PHP for templating. I think it's just, PHP is so basic. It runs on the most basic type of server, a LAMP stack, Linux, Apache, MySQL, PHP. So you can run PHP easily in a local environment. And then you can sort of you can turn it into chunks or template parts and then import those parts or include those parts in your different static pages. I'm not going to do that here because I want this to be an open source project, and I understand that not every developer knows PHP or would ever use PHP for that sort of templating. I assume that people are going to take this, if they decide to fork it, and turn it into like some app or maybe a WordPress or I don't know what. Like, that's the point, is to make it as easy and usable for anybody who wants to take it and use it. So my point is, we need to nail down the navigation now before we continue to create additional pages. So we are going to, let's look at our mock-ups here. So we're finished with the home page. We're finished with the masonry page. We have a blog layout with a slider, and then we have a blog layout that is almost identical to the blog layout with the slider. So I would call this probably just blog with slider. I would call this blog. This is also a blog page, but it's full width without a sidebar. So that's number 3. And then we just have like a page. So we could call this an about page and a contact page. So let's actually write this down. So we have home. We have masonry. We have blog with slider. We have blog. We have full width blog. And then we can just say about and contact. So that's 7 pages. How many? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4, 5, 6, 7. And about and contact are already here. And then we've already got home. So let's actually get our navigation into a place it's supposed to be. Let's create all of the pages and just get them ready for us. And then this also helps us plan out like exactly how much more we're going to do to this before we call it done. And we are building every single mock-up in this blog, and it takes as long as it takes. If I could, I think my goal for 2025 is if I could do 3, possibly 4 of these complete mock-ups start to finish, as streaming content, and then put them out on GitHub as open source for anybody to use. Like, that is, as far as I'm concerned, that's a great use of my time, as far as streaming is concerned. So I'm totally down with that. Okay, so let's work on our homepage and make sure. One moment. Okay. Okay, here's the navigation. So let's do masonry. Or maybe we can stick this down here instead. Masonry. So we'll say, I'm going to say blog, slider, blog, full width, about, and then contact. So that's perfect. And then let's think about our navigation. I do have an index.php here, and the reason I have that is so this works correctly on Heroku when I deploy this to Heroku. So right now this is my local copy. Let's go to the Heroku. And so it's pulling up home.html, but really in index.php, we're including home.html. You can also go /home.html. We could also go masonry.html. What I kind of would like to do is, instead of a home.html, I think we should do what you would normally do. And do something like this. So then this would actually be slash stop. home/index.html. There we go. I think this will work. I don't know. I haven't actually tried this. I'm pretty sure this will work. I don't know why it wouldn't. And then let's do the same for the masonry page. No, that's not what I want. That in there. So now what we should be able to do, and you can see here we're getting an error. So really what you should be able to do is just do an endpoint of masonry. Oh, you know what? This is going to mess with yeah, so it just might mess with. So here's our styles. So this would actually be right there. And we would have to do the same here. And yeah, see, this gets so messy. Maybe I shouldn't do this. Maybe I should just leave it the way it is. I like organizing my things into folders though. Um, well, we just have to. I think all we have to do is add. There we go. Okay. Yeah, I am going to do this. Do the same thing here. Then we'll go ahead and deploy it to Heroku. So basically, we're just doing some housekeeping here today before we get started working on these inner pages. Because if we don't do this, things are going to get messy. There we go. Oh, we still need to fix those. All right, there we go. Images, JavaScript, CSS. Okay. So that's fine. We know what to do now. We know what to do now for our images and our assets. I don't think that'll work, no. But if you just go to the directory now, the endpoint is just home / and then it looks for the index page inside the directory. And that's perfect. That's exactly what I want. And then we do the same thing for masonry. Okay, so let's go ahead and deploy this to Git, which deploys it to Heroku, and make sure it works on Heroku. And then in the meantime, let's start updating the navigation and the links. Creating folders for the pages and updating links to assets. Okay. So here is our home page. So we've got home index. I'm going to leave the index off and just do home. And then we'll do the same thing, even though we haven't created these yet. But you can see that this gets so messy so fast. So messy so fast, which is why things like content management systems and things like Vue, Angular, React. I've never used React, but they all have routes and routing. It's why things like that are so popular. And quite frankly, just using PHP for templating also makes it a lot easier. But it does get messy quick. Okay, so I'm going to take this and update this. And I'm going to do the same on the masonry page. Now we have everything updated, so we can create all of our additional pages and get them ready. Get them ready to be worked on. And we are not, unless something extraordinary happens, we are not changing the navigation, because I am not down for that. I do not like having to constantly update navigation. Okay, let's check our Heroku site and see if that worked. Yeah, I guess. Let's see here. So we should be able to do /home. Yep. And /masonry. Yes, good. Okay, so now that we have our navigation updated. Oh, whoops, that's not what I wanted. Down here. So now that we have our navigation updated, let's deploy that and make sure that that is working. Well, actually, let's actually create those folders first. Let's actually create those folders first so we can click to something. Okay, so we've got home, masonry, we need a list. So we've got blog, slider, we've got blog, we've got full width, about, and contact. Okay. Next, I'm going to I'm just going to let's do this. I will save as. I'm going to save as in about. And then I'm going to save as blog. I'm going to save as blog slider. Save as contact. Save as full width. I think that's the last one. So we're on the full width page. Now let's update the title. Full width blog page. Let's do this. HTML and there we go. So now we'll have an updated title for all of the pages. So there's full width. Now we'll do contact. Here's blog slider. Here's blog. We'll say blog with sidebar. And we'll say about page. All right. And then let's update home in masonry. And then these pages will be ready to go. Oh, wait a second. Did I do home page? So locally, this should work now. So here's our home page. Here's masonry, blog, blog slider, blog, full width, about, contact. And you can see up here, it's kind of tiny, but you can see up here that it's changing in the title. And we have nice clean endpoints also that don't say .html. I kind of like that. I kind of like it that it doesn't say .html. Just keeps it tidy. So, okay, let's let's close these. Okay, now let's go ahead and deploy this. And then those pages will be ready to go when we're ready to start working on them. Updating the navigation and creating the inner pages. Okay. We should see that updated in a minute or two. So today, yeah, I kind of just want to get started on well, the blog and the blog slider are just about identical. So I say we just get started on the blog and go from there. Oops.